Welcome to Finding Holiness, where we delve into timeless Torah wisdom, revealing the sacred in everyday moments. Join us on a journey to elevate your spirituality and discover holiness in every aspect of life. I'm your host, Rabbi David Kadosh, and together, let's embark on a path of spiritual exploration. I hope you enjoy this next episode. Erev Tov, everybody. Let's continue with our discussion of Tevilat, Kelim. Halacha writes as follows: HaKelim HaKelulim b'mitzvah hem kelim she'ochlim v'shotim bahem. The vessels that are included in the mitzvah of dipping in the mikveh are those vessels that we eat and drink with. Kadugmat, for example, tzalachot, that's plates, kosot, cups, sekum, which is cutlery. V'chen keli hagasha kadugmat ke'arot, kankanim, magashim, any serving platters. V'chen kelim shemechinim b'hem ochel, any utensils that we prepare food with. Kedugmat, sirim, those are pots. Michsehem, they're covers. Machbatot, that's pans. Tavniot afiyah, baking ware. Shipudim, skewers. V'shatolet tzliya, things that we use to roast. Aval, hatzuva ena tzricha tevilah, hoil ve'en manichim alea machalim ela sirim. But things that, platforms that you put pots on don't require tevilah. V'chen tzarich litpol, magredet, you have to dip a grater. Kolfan, it's a peeler. Tohan, shum v'tablinim, a grinder, a garlic press. Pores betzim, egg slicer. Mesanenet lete, umfatzeach egozim, a sieve for tea, and things that you use to split open walnuts. Hoid vehem ba'i b'magay hashim ha'ochel, because these things come in direct contact with food. Aval, holetz pakakim upotchan kufsaot, corkscrews. These things don't come in contact with the food, so you don't need to dip your corkscrew in the water. Kelim shebaim b'maga im ha'ochel, אבל נועדו להכנתו בשלבים הקודמים, לשלב שבו מכינים אותו לאכילה, כגון סכיני שחידה וכלים שמשמשים להכנת בצק, פטורים מטבילה. Certain utensils that come in contact with food, but their purpose is not actually to actually prepare the food, but more it's the prior state. So he gives an example of the knives for shachita. So it's not talking about a knife that you're using to cut your steak once you have your steak. That for sure you need tevilah. But here you have a shachita knife, or you have utensils that are to prepare making dough. All these are pturim tevilah. These are patur. Zakla, this is the rule. Kol hakelim shebaim b'maga yashir im ha'ochel be'et shehu ra'ui la'achila tzrichim tevilah. Any utensils that come in direct contact with food when the food is ready to be eaten, those are the kelim that require tevilah. If they come in contact with meat or foods that are not ready to be eaten, like a dough hook or a shechita knife, those things are patur from tevilah. Kelim shenoadu le'achson machalim b'midbach. So you have storage containers that are used to put in your pantry. Ketzinzenet, like jars lesukar, sugar jar, vela cafe, or where you store coffee in. Those tzrichim tevilah, those require tevilah. Aval im anichim bahem machalim atufim, kegon sukariot atufot or sakiyot enam tzrichim tevilah. But those jars that you put in sweet and low packages, or you put in tea bags, they could be the same jars. But if you're only going to put it in for packaged things and the food is not directly going to touch, then they don't require tevilah. Long-term storage solution utensils, kelim shenoadu le'achsen bahem machalim b'machsan, keivan she'en regilim lakachat mehem ochel kedei le'ochlom miyad, peturim metevilah. So here's a chidush. If you have a storage container that is storing food, but it's something that you don't use or take from often, therefore it's patur from tevilah. And as well, kelim chad pe'amim peturim mitevilah. One-time usage kelim such as foil, those are patur from tevilah. We're going to talk about that later on. Later on halacha tet. Tevilat hakeli tzricha lehe'asot b'mikveh kasher. Dipping the utensil needs to be in a kosher mikveh. ששיעור המים שבו לכל הפחות 40 סאה, And the mikveh must hold a minimum of 40 se'ah, which is approximately 288 liters. Keshur she'adam mimotza yachol mimutza, a medium-sized man, yachol litbol bo et kol gufo ke'ehad, where he could dip himself, his whole body in one shot. Amal shalosh amot, which is basically 1 amah by 1 amah by 3 amot tall. So that's the minimum size, 288 liters. Hamikveh kasher bitnai she'amayim shebo hem mayim chayim shenova'im mima'ayan o shenikavu memei gshamim bayam o b'mikveh. In order for the mikveh to be kosher, it's on condition that we're talking about water that comes from a spring or was rainwater that was collected in one spot. The same rule applies to the body mikveh, to your kelim mikveh. You cannot collect the water in a separate basin or in a separate pipe or what sort. That wouldn't be kasher mikveh. In fact, I remember when we were redoing the mikveh here, we had to go to the roof, and Isaac, you were with me on that one? I don't remember. No, you didn't come with me to the roof? So the rabbi who was overseeing it, he was even worried about the opening where the water comes down. There was bolts that closed the plug, I guess, and those bolts had a little indentation. And the water that was sitting in there, he felt was collected, okay, which could be posel, all the other water that was going to go in. And we had to plug those bolts so that it was smooth, so that the water wouldn't sit there. That's how strict they were when we went up to the roof. So again, water that's kosher for mikveh needs to go direct into the mikveh, but it cannot be held in a receptacle prior to that. Haklal hayesodi b'tevilat. The general rule, shekol hakli yeh betoch hamayim. The entire vessel must be dipped in the water. Belo sheyeh davar chotzes ben hakli leben mikveh. With nothing impeding the vessel and the water. Nothing acting as a hindrance. Lefichach, hatovel chatzi me'akeli ve'achar kach et chetio hasheni, tevilato psula. If you take half of the utensil, okay, you dip half of it in the mikveh, and then you do this way and you dip half in the mikveh, not kosher. The whole thing needs to be in the water at the same time. Even the handle of the kli needs to be in the water. It's part of the kli. If the handle is outside of the water, pesula. You have to make sure that nothing is sticking on to the keli, whether on the outside or the inside. שכל דבר שאנשים רגילים להקפיד להשיא מהכלי, חוצץ בין הכלי למים ופוסל את הטבילה. If it has a sticker on the keli and you don't want that sticker on the keli, so that's something that bothers you, you're makpid, then it acts as a chatzitza, as an impediment, and therefore it's posel the tevila. And he says over here specifically, לכן צריך להסיר את תווית המחיר והדבק שתחתיה. You have to remove the price tag, the price sticker, and the glue that's underneath. Because no one keeps a price tag on the vessel. You're serving wine glasses. You don't want your guests to see the price tag of how much you paid for the wine. So that's something that you care about. So you want to remove that. Omnam she'riyot קטנטנות של דבק או לכלוך שאין רגילים להקפיד להסיר, אם גם בעלי הכלי אינו רגיל להקפיד עליהן, אינן חוצצות. But you remove the sticker and you have the little tiny still sticky thing, okay, if that doesn't bother you, so you don't have to remove it. If you're ready to serve your glassware or your tableware with that little tiny thing that's left over, the remnants, then you don't have to sit there and break your head for 30 minutes on every single thing getting all the sticker out. כאשר דבוקה לכלי תווית יצרה נאה שרבים נוהגים להשאירה בזמן השימוש וגם בעל הכלי מעוניין בה, היא נחשבת חלק מהכלי ואין צריך להסירה לפני הטבילה. So let's say you have something, a manufacturer label that is stuck on the kli, and you want it there, and it's normal for people to keep that on the kli. Then you don't need to remove it. Sometimes you have like brand names. There's a brand name Mikasa. I don't know Mikasa. You want the Mikasa label over there showing people know it's Mikasa, and people keep the Mikasa. So if that's something that you want, doesn't need to be removed. כאשר בנוסף לטבילה צריך גם להכשיר את הכלים מפני שבישלו בו טרף. צריך להכשירו תחילה ולסיים בתבילת טהרתו. Now, let's say this keli, not only do you need to kosher it, but it was also cooked with terefah. You got it from a goy with terefah. So first you need to kosher it from the terefah. So you have to do whatever process you need, whether hagala or libun or all the things that Bezat Hashem will talk about. And then you dip it in the mikveh. בדיעבד, אם יטבילו תחילה, כל זמן שלא יהיה דבוק לכלי דבר שחוצה בין הכלי למים, טבילתו כשרה. Now, if you dipped it in without doing the hechsher, then it's okay b'diavad, but you still got to kosher it afterwards. How much time we have left? Okay, we still got a couple minutes. Let's just finish this section here. אפשר לטבול כלי שמורכב מכמה חלקים בעודו מחובר, אף שהמים אינם נכנסים במקום ההרכבה שבין החלקים, Sometimes you have a utensil that is made up with many parts. And you know that even if you dip the utensil in the water is not going to reach every single little part of the parts that are in there. That's okay. Because that's how it is built, that's how it's used, so that's how you dip it. כאשר טובלים כלי שיש לו פתח צר כבקבוק, יש לשים לב שהמים ימלאו את כולו כדי שכולו מבחוץ ומבפנים יבוא במגע של המים. If you have something like a bottle, say this was a glass bottle which has a very narrow opening, and you put it into the water, you have to keep it in there for a little bit because you need the water to enter the bottle completely so that the whole thing is filled with water. If you just put it in and out, you're not going to cover the entire surface area of the bottle. Lastly, לאחר הכנסת כלי לתוך מי המקווה, יש להרפות ממנו להחליק שנייה. After you put the item in the mikveh, you should loosen your hold, your grasp on the keli. Because you need the water to touch the parts of the glass or the utensil that you're holding. Because if not, then your hand is blocking the water from reaching the kli. So now what are you worried about? If I loosen up the grip, it's going to fall. So what do? He gives you advice. Wet your hands first, and then hold. Somehow this works, okay? And then and it somehow gives you a better grip there, even if you loosen it. All right, then get it wet and you're fine. You can hold it better. So if you wet your hands also with the mikveh, so now you have mikveh waters on your hands, and then you're dipping it together with the utensil, and it's kind of like a 2-in-1. Another advice he gives you, od pitaron, leachnis et hakli betoch sal. Put the kli inside a basket. We have a basket here as well. Kach she'en chashash she'akli yipol ve'yishavet. Now you're not worried that the utensil is going to fall and break. Ve'af en chatisa ben asa lekli. It's not considered an impediment between the basket and the kli, because they're not really touching each other very strong. There's not a strong grip there. There's nothing really pegging onto it. And if you put a lot of forks and knives and spoons inside the basket, shake them while it's in the mikveh, in order to ensure that the water touches each part of the kelim. We'll stop here. We'll continue tomorrow.